How's it going, everybody? It's Matt Tomorrow here to one chat. You hear me? Still no sound? Still no sound? Hold on a second. Can y'all hear me? I'm not sure why this is even happening like this. Because that's what happened. Like, all right, so I've been asked a question by a person. Like, so when did I turn it around? Like, dude, like, after a certain point in time in my life, like, most of the point in time in my life, like, okay, I left Mississippi at like 17. Jumped on a plane, went to basic training. Basic training, after that, went to Germany. Went to Germany, went to a lot of places from there. So it's like I was always surrounded by competent adults. No, and I've been actually surrounded by a lot of incompetent people throughout my entire life. And I didn't know that, especially when it became to women. Like I met a lot of decent, like good to honest women, like all the time. And it's like I knew at the point in time where I was around decent people because these people wanted good outcome. They, they wanted better outcomes from the first beginning, right? And if you want better outcomes from the first beginning, you're going to automatically know in advance that you're going to be around better people in advance. It's the moment you're in good situations, right? Like once you get into better situations, better than what you was raised in, better than what you ever been around, better than what you witnessed, like playing around sports, like all of that stuff is going to help you out and where you're going. But those people can only get you so far. I still knew that I had to be better than all of that, just even going forward. I always knew there was something wrong with the actual system and the results. I always knew it. And it was like, it wasn't a moment. It was a constant state of re-verification that there was something wrong with the process from beginning to end. And then I had to learn how to think through the process from beginning to end from that point forward. Like I knew what it was because I was surrounded by better men, better women. People had a consistent and constant goal in mind. No, it wasn't a mistake. It was not a mistake at all. It just wasn't. And it's like because you see the end goal and the end results from other people and they've been on similar paths and you know that there's a problem. So that wasn't a moment. I always knew there was something that was wrong because no one had good outcomes. And once I started, like, I think I heard outcomes like the first time I ran track, cross country track, and maybe like the 11th grade. And it was like, yeah, you may be running this track, but what is the overall outcome of the things you're actually talking about and thinking about and looking at? You got to think about the actual outcomes of what you're actually getting into. It was a remarkable thing, and it was something that was brought up, and it was like I didn't know where I was going. I just knew that I was good at this, even though I wasn't good at it at all. I showed up, people didn't, and I became good at something because I didn't believe in myself at the time. But the other people were coaches, and they actually believed in me enough so where I can actually go from the actual level of not having the actual experience of knowing what I was doing to actually having confidence in myself in one specific thing. What's wrong, bro? What's wrong, Jesse? And it was like, but I wanted to know more. But I was in a space to where learning more about something, what it was capped at some certain point. The actual conversation and discussion was capped at a certain point, and I didn't like that. I wanted to know what was more out of this experience that I was not actually tuned into. Because, when you see your grandfather's a sharecropper, your mother is a person who actually take care of her mother was paid by the state, and I'm like, is this what's going on? Is this what my actual future end goal was? And I knew it early, very early, that all these people who went to college and went to high school and all this kind of stuff, they ended up back in the same circumstance. Even when I went back, because most of the people they don't gain a lot of weight, they don't look any different. They just look just a slightly bit older. I remember when I went back home, like the last time I went back, took a ride from the airport, and I was in the actual car with my second grade teacher. Second grade called me out by name. I haven't seen you in forever. How come you've never came back? I was embarrassed. And I was like, I didn't know how to come back. Have you walked around this place? Have you looked at this place? Like, yeah. I mean, she called out my childhood friend that she knew that she was talking to. I didn't know she was talking to the guy. And she was like, well, he turned out great. He told me all these things, great things you was doing overseas and everything else. So how come you didn't bring this message back to the people? And I'm like, could they actually have been helped with the actual message? And it's like, those people chose what they chose. I didn't think my message, individual or in person, was going to be able to give them what they thought that they needed at the time because they were created under bad circumstances. And it was actually weaponized and actually cultured to not like people like me in my circumstances, unless I gave everything back to them. The ride wasn't that far. We landed in, that part of Mississippi, and I actually, and she finally got it. I didn't know that one of the coaches had cancer at the time, and that he was on his deathbed. And I didn't know that that coach, specific coach, was her actual brother-in-law. And I was actually in town to see him. And that was the only reason that I came back for that 20-year reunion at that time. Because I heard that he was on his deathbed from somebody who was very close to him. But she was actually privy to the fact that she knew that I was in town for that reason. And like when we actually went to the actual ceremonies and she was a part of it, it was very apparent that she knew I was in town. Even though he looked like he didn't actually was under any sort of duress at all. So there's a lot of people out there who don't understand the simple fact that it's not you that has the problem here. It's them who have the problem. And I was willing to go so far that I wanted to make sure that the way that I did things was so far to the point of right that I would be able to dismiss every single person or every single thing that I have ever been around to become who I am today. And once I explained it to her, she finally got it. She never understood why people didn't come back. And she was just naming off people from my second grade class. But this person did this, and this person did that, and this person did this, and this person did that. I'm like, I'm not those people. Most of those people I don't even have relationships with. I have to go chase down those relationships with those people. Truth was, I didn't know how this thing was going to turn out. That's the truth. I didn't know. I had no idea. But I needed to be able to create it myself to make sure that the results were so different and they were so mine that no one could be able to talk me out of it. And that's what you have to do in your life overall. It has to be yours. It can be through other people. If it's actually through other people, then they actually control your actual results. And that's something that you don't need. It has to be yours. You have to create a world, a mind state, a future, everything to where everything else right now that has the most amount of control over your life doesn't have the amount of control in your actual future going forward. And it has to be yours. I wanted something that was mine. And even though this stuff is very experimental, it was 100% mine. I was never obligated to share with a certain individual or company or outcome. Everything was mine. And they can be yours too. You have to let this stuff go. There has to be a point to where what's next has to be part of your actual living being. I knew how it felt to, I knew how it felt. Um, I was on those work trucks, went out to the actual fields, chopped cotton and all that stuff. I'm in my 40s, early 40s. I went through that stuff myself. I seen this stuff my grandfather talked about at my age, and I just didn't want it to be the same thing for me. I wanted to make damn certain that the path that I was on was the right thing for any person that I would actually ever teach about the path at all. Period. And this is why I cannot do the Black Manosphere shit no more. Because most of the people here cannot be helped. They're hell bent on going through the same circumstances, through different situations with their entire life, and I can't be a part of that. I can't do that. I can't. But this thing was a part of this whole entire path from beginning to end. And it was different parts of my life. I had the same conversation with people. The same thing. When is it going to be yours? I can't say I always had it figured out, but I realized what wasn't the answer. So it wasn't that I knew what the answer was, I knew what the answer wasn't from the first beginning. First beginning, I knew that the way that people were doing things, that wasn't the answer. Not at all the answer. Was taught to look at the outcomes and the results very early. Very early, different parts of the family, different parts of everything else. I knew that wasn't the answer. I had the results right in front of my face. It was like a report card. You get a report card, you look at it. He's wondering where the last points went. I didn't like history. Father came up to me and like, "What do you mean you don't like history? History is how we got here. What do you mean you don't like history?" What's going on, Miller? I'm like, "Well, I don't like history because yeah, I said that. I didn't like history because I like the way they betrayed us." And he was like, "Well, maybe that you need to pay attention to history so that way you don't become the next mark of history. You need to pay attention to that. All these other things, math, sciences, high IQ guy, is very apparent from birth, but it's like it's more important to learn about the past than the actual things you actually excel in. You actually need to go to some of these libraries and see about the actual marketing history of the people that you're a part of. And then once you start to read from these actual black libraries about how things actually work versus the sanitized versions of the things that happen, and then I started putting it all together. Nobody actually wanted to change the things that was actually happening in society and life. They never wanted to change it. And I had to realize that early, that I wanted to be the change that I seen in other people. Thanks to the 499 Super Sticker Melody. And I had to be able to change a lot of things. My focus was on the wrong things, on the wrong people, on the wrong associations, the wrong friendships, the wrong type of businesses, the wrong type. I had to change all that stuff myself. I had to stop doing all this stuff. I had to stop defining myself through all of that stuff. I needed to find an identity for myself outside of those things that defined everybody else. And once I found it, it was basic and simplistic happiness and stoicism without all these problems of the past. I didn't know that it was that simple, but I had better actual experiences outside that environment. And rather than take those better experiences and try to do the past mistakes better, I just took those better experiences and just moved on to better people overall. Better. because I was going somewhere and I wanted to do something with my actual life. So I always had the answer. The answer was the path. The answer was the path. The answer was the path without all those people who poisoned my mind from the beginning to the end with their actual past of failures. It was actually something that I wanted to do, something that I wanted to be a part of, something that I actually owned, something that was mine, something that I did not have to share, something that I did not have the obligation to give away. That's where I was. And that's why I'm so sure about the things that I think and the things that I do and the things that I'm a part of and the things that I invest in and the things that I spend my time on. Because I wanted to be responsible for the outcome and the results. Unbeknownst to me, most of the people who actually caused me the most problems and the most pain in my life were not people who were white. They were people who were black. They wanted to sabotage, disrupt, and destroy all everything that I was building because they didn't understand why I was doing it. I was supposed to give it away to someone who was way better than I was, but I was way better than I was at the current point. And you have to come to some point to where you're going to have to see the outcome for yourself. Sometimes at the top of that mountain, there's not going to be anybody else up there but other summits and horizons that you're not going to see until you get there. And this is why I talk about the things that I talk about. This is why I practice the things that I practice and I do the things that I do because I want to get somewhere with this. I don't want to have the same conversation over and over again from today to tomorrow. I don't give a shit about that. I want to be a part of the conversation that is this the last time that we can talk about these dumbass issues and actually move forward from these simplistic issues. I moved far beyond this point to the point to where I've been a part of other communities that I teach how their full families can be in line to get into the transportation industry, even though they don't have any type of tangible skills themselves, made multiple family millions of dollars. I can't even do it for black people for free. Can't even do it for white people for free. Because they want to bring all this old stuff along the road with them. I had to learn early that the old ways didn't work. The old associations didn't work. Figuring out the old processes, procedures, and programs and actually dismantling them from the inside out and actually making sure that nobody else traveled down this path was the only reason that I'm here in the first place. Most of this life experience has been a living mistake. Making sure that you're not living a mistake of people in the past and people in the recent future. And it all started with the fact that I wanted to be in a better place, not other people. I did. I wasn't waiting on anybody else. I didn't care about who was there with me once I crossed the finish line. I just wanted to make sure that I crossed it, and I crossed it for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons, the right reasons. But if you get into the wrong things or even the right things for the right reasons, you're gonna fail. And that's how those things work. And this is why you have so many older individuals who's trying to soup up failed concepts to try to bring it along into the future so that way they can damage the youth. Because the youth are supposed to be way better than the adults who are recently on the field by the time they hit 18. 18 years old is a very specific marker that by the time you hit the age of adulthood, you're supposed to be better than the men that are currently on the market, regardless of age. That's what I was taught by coaches, father, grandfather, school teachers, everything else. I go back down there now. It seems amazing that I see women in their 80s, 90s, and some in their early hundreds still remember everything about me when I go down there to visit. They don't even get visits from their ancient kids, but they get visits from their real sons and daughters as the people who actually respected what they taught, respected the track record that they tried to put down, and most of the people who actually followed their actual teachings. But that wasn't everybody. And most likely, most of the people who respected them the most wasn't even their own kids. I figured that out way later on. Most of the kind hearted people had the worst of kids because they felt like their love was too widely dispersed amongst people that wasn't part of their household when it was very generalized across people across the public in general. Because they wanted a generalized result, but they thought that they was worth way more than that. Lots of people went to prison for no reason, provided a very good upper middle class lifestyle, didn't respect it because it became to them too easy. So the answer is, when did I figure it out? Did I figure it out way earlier than what you might expect and imagine? Way earlier than you can imagine. It doesn't take a high IQ to realize that you're on the wrong path. It doesn't take a high IQ to realize that you're dealing with the wrong people. It doesn't take a men's membership to realize that this stuff is not meant to end well. It doesn't take any of that. The only thing you have to look at is the outcomes of the people who's trying to be the actual leaders in the actual environment and the people who's trying to come after those as people in the actual environment too. It doesn't take a lot. It takes history. It takes the track record. Something that we have been socialized out of actually looking at. But for some reason, we're supposed to dismiss all this to believe in nonsense. This is where we are. We're here because we put ourselves here. It's not anybody else's fault but our own. I understand that comfort is a way less level that you can actually attach yourself to, but at the end of the day, you have to realize what the realistic consequences are to not noticing things soon enough. Most of the people in my family who I wasted time on trying to save, I couldn't save anyway. Even though their parents never told me that those people were beyond saving in the first place. And it's a socialization process to where you're going to be spending time on the people that you cannot save, that you cannot sway, that you cannot help beyond their own level of understanding of the current situation. And I was told this very early, and I still fell into the same trap myself. For years, I was trying to help people with drug addiction and everything else. So much so to the point to where I know nothing about the greatest people of my military experience, but I know everything about the worst people of my military experience. Commanders, sergeants, supervisors, all that stuff. I know nearly everything about the worst people I've ever met. I know nothing about the people who I help be greater people. Nothing. There's a couple of people at the Pentagon, maybe about 15 or 20 in the FBI, two or three at the CIA, and outside of that, absolutely nothing. And the great majority of people, the people who either screwed me over or assisted in screwing over the other people and all that other stuff. Yeah, stirring the pot at the bottom is a very bad thing. And it's no different than what you've been told to actually treat people as a level of respect of in this actual environment here. It's always the worst people who get the most amount of help that they don't deserve. Most of that help never goes toward the people who need it because they didn't want those people to create a better future so that way those people could leave behind the weakest people behind them. They did it on purpose. And it wasn't a black thing. It was a white thing. It was a Latin thing. It was a Native American thing. It was everything else. It's simply we had standards here that could have protected everybody from this outcome, but we decided not to actually look forward to it. That's what we did. We did it on purpose. Why? Because we didn't want to see a better tomorrow without the least of us becoming the leaders of us. You got to individually be able to choose a better life for yourself before you try to share it with other people. Right now, we choose a better life for everybody else and we put ourselves last. That's what's being taught. And that stuff doesn't work overall. It's never worked. I always knew there was a problem. I went to other societies and cultures, received the greatest amount of love. They didn't care about who I was. They never knew anything about my background. But character means stuff other places, just not here. And I wanted to go as many places far and wide as I possibly could to make sure I could formalize my actual outcome that I actually wanted to be a part of. Once you start looking within for the answers rather than out for the answers, you're going to get a hell of a lot of things worthwhile that's worth living. I learned that it wasn't worth, life wasn't worth enduring. It was worth living for the right reason. Nobody literally cared about how much you've been through or where you actually came from. They care about what you produce. How happy are you? Do you have the level of comfort and worth of being part of our group or even our culture, period? Nobody really cared about the opinion of our culture when anywhere else but here at the bottom. I just can't do this anymore, man. I'm just around the wrong people. So many individuals that I meet throughout town, in the city that I'm currently in, or other cities that I meet, they need way hell more of the decision and thought process than the people here within the space. This is why I don't have my information up from 2 or 3 years ago. I can't keep that information up if there's to have not been any type of growth in people. Because I wanted to come here to grow with the people who actually wanted to be a part of the process and procedures that I was actually talking about. Because I had outcomes associated with it. Then I realized that they wasn't here for that. They was here for my message just so long as that I reset the conversation so that way they could feel comfortable by going to the same exact people that there was in other people's chats 2 or 3 years before. That's what it was. And I have to be honest about that. I didn't fail the audience. I had an end result that's very conclusive and explainable how to get here. I used to give people 2, 3 year plans on how to get exactly where I got. They all damaged and destroyed that for something else other than what was the actual result of it. At some point in time, you have to realize that you're in the wrong place. You're trying to help the wrong people get to the wrong type of outcome that they don't respect. They wanted this place to be a hangout for certain types of people. They want to do that on purpose because these people have really seen the outcomes in their personal lives when it came to learning everything about uncultured women and everything else. They see that this stuff didn't work. It didn't work out for them. So in order to prove their worth to the group, they could just claim that they're businessmen now and just turn around and try to destroy everything else that's left. So they're coming for the kids. Because you can't really save people between the age of 25 and pretty much 65. You can't save any of those guys. Those guys are already on a specific path that's going to lead them to their conclusion. But the people who are far lower than that, they don't need to be told to stay away from specific type of circumstances. There is so much information out there right now at this point in time that they don't need to be reminded. Period. You can easily move on to better circumstances early. And that was always the solution. So if but I already experienced better solutions before I knew that was the solution. And that was the actual case was before I knew what SYSBM was or Passport Bros was. I actually seen that stuff in real time in those countries where I actually went to. I seen men, black men, happy as shit everywhere, and it wasn't the female counterpart; it was the culture associated with it because they haven't been raised on their cultures that taught them to appreciate such men. And then you have a whole bunch of men non-productive who come online to tell you that you're not even a man unless you can handle an uncultured woman. And they're going to be able to teach you and actually guide you through these actual processes that nobody has ever seen the end of. Some reason, all the celebrities are going through divorces, but somehow dating coaches are getting all the wins. Tell me how that happens. You got to be able to practice a system that you actually see the actual results of if you actually want it to work. Do you know what it looked like? That's the real question. I knew it early because I was around better people earlier, even after all those losses. I thought after all those losses, it made me a worse off person, a far more jaded person. No, it didn't. It made me a better person, a far better person, because I knew the value. I didn't know that was the actual lesson, but that was the overall lesson. I knew the value of happiness. I knew the value of life. I knew the value of loss. I knew the value of gain by passively sitting there. And I had to be able to get these things out of situations that I could not even find meaning out of. What's going on about? Now, I came back to the States, Santa Claus Clutch, because it wasn't, it was situational versus environmental. It was situational. And I seen that people had it in the United States versus outside the United States. Like when I went to Germany, I still came back to the United States 2 or 3 times a year to deal with people in the United States, and I seen what was over here versus what was over there. Over there, men got their needs met, all of them, very freely. No game, no nothing, no shame and language, no dating coaches, no nothing. We're talking about 20 something years ago. So it was like, I live in countries, like most of the countries I live in had legalized prostitution. They live in the country to where the actual women couldn't be able to socialize boys into like ridiculous circumstances. That was the protection of the environment. So I was around better circumstances, and I had a very clear comparison model versus what I was going through, what I was experiencing, and where I wanted to go. That's why I'm telling people who are now actually part of the federal government, hey man, you need to take one of them GS9s, the GS15s overseas. Because a lot of people don't want to live over there in Italy, Germany, France, and all those other places, even though they have military bases out there that you can freely get jobs at just as easily that you can get them over here. But you need to be able to go to that actual economic strata all the way to the top and then come back to the United States. Because even while I was over there, I knew people who got out of the military who still stayed on base, who became, like civilians over there, and they're still over there. Some of those guys are still over there in those places, and I still go visit them. That's why, I, like those people, I kept, contacts with, right? And those people liked the actual circumstances that they were in because they wasn't socialized to continue to keep being on the market till they're 50 and 60 years old, right? They were just around a better group of people, regardless of whether they was actually raised around them or not. And just so in that case, there were actually people from the South just like myself. They weren't from Mississippi, but they were definitely from Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, and Texas for the most part. A couple are from Tennessee, but for the most part, that's what it was. They knew what the upbringing was. They knew that what they didn't want to go back after, and they just met better people and they stayed. Think of it as blackjack. They stayed on 20. They didn't get to 20 and they decided to take a hit on 20. No, they got to 20 and they actually stayed there. This is why, like, even though I recognize that early, you can get this now. You can get this right now. Because most people who claim that they're winning, they're actually not. They're winning based on access, and they're not winning based on control. You can never have control in the situations and circumstances like this. There's no way you can have control in a circumstance like this. You have to move on to new inventory, man. Because those people did the same thing. They moved on to new inventory rather than productive men. And you have to understand that. They moved on to other men that satisfied them within the environment that wasn't productive people. That's what they did. They did it early. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. The people who claim that they're winning, they're not winning because they're winning sake. They won because they fed themselves directly into the actual actions and abilities that they wanted. That's not victory. That's compromise. A life of compromise is not a life of victory. It isn't. If you universally surrendered for some dumbass reason, you're going to have to keep surrendering for some dumbass reason. And these are the same people who are online today who want to make sure the actual counterpart that they connected themselves to here actually be chided as if they were wrong. But they know what the actual outcome is. They know what the outcome is. They're not dumb. They're not dumb. They know what they're after. Most of these people are single because they abuse the same structure equally across the board. And the only reason and way that that was able to be held in place was that way they can access your actual level of sexual compromise so that way you wouldn't complain about the things they're actually talking about. We're in a different world now. A different world where the average and the most basic man, depending on what circumstances he puts himself in with his actual productivity, could get way more than the woman with the most beauty within the environment. That is the actual secret that they did not want you to know. They wanted you to play their game their way for their specific outcomes. There was a reason for that. This is why you have so many people who don't have any side picked, but they seem to be on the side of the uncultured women through their actual choice and dependence prospect. This stuff isn't hard. It's the same across the board. It's never been different at any other point in time in society. It's always been the same. I guess I had it figured out early, but I didn't want to level up through their system to get better results. I wanted to create my own system. And the first thing I had to do was leave those people out of it. Period. I didn't want those people being a part of it at all. Because if everybody's fighting for me to give the best, my best to the worst people, why the hell would I bring those people along for the ride in the first place? You can only bring people up to your level as the people who respect it. It's easy to act like you're the prime pick of the occult culture woman if she's your actual outcome model. It's very easy. It's not hard. Being socialized into creating the worst outcomes for yourself is something that you've been socialized into. You can socialize yourself out of it as well. But if you don't take the requisite steps of leaving this stuff alone from the first beginning to the last, you're never going to get there. You're not going to sexually compromise your way through to success. You're just going to learn their system and actually feed yourself into it from beginning to end. And this realistic type of information isn't available in any book, any type of system, any dating coach platform, or anything else. It's actually what manhood is supposed to be about in the first beginning. Staying out of horrific circumstances and only dealing with better circumstances than those that seem to be horrific, based on a track record. But now you got a different group of men who's out here trying to deliberately feed you into circumstances that they haven't resolved to feed you in a lifestyle of systemic hell. It's very easy and it's very simple. They don't want the best out of you. Neither does the counterpart within the environment. Better Men destroys its actual system, sir. Better men have always destroyed an actual system of systemic suppression. That's the way it has always been, forever. Anybody who claims to have success within this marketplace, what does it look like? If you don't know what it looks like, and you don't have a path of knowing what it looks like, how can they teach from the actual path of what it is? Harvard's yes, military bases no. But that's just what we are. You got to figure it out early too. But you just can't figure it out with words or figure it out with actions. You have to figure it out with associations. You have to figure it out with the places where you actually make yourself into better people. Like the mind state and the lifestyle of leaving this stuff alone give the benefits that you actually are going to be able to spread to other people. It's long before you actually experience the results that you already have the results. Most of the most of the actual ramifications of the things that you don't experience, which other people are going through, you don't know that you're going through that stuff until you're already far beyond it, way far beyond. After these things become beneath you as a topic and subject to which you're going to discuss, you're actually going to experience a better life without these things becoming normal to you. So you have to realize that most of these people want to normalize bad outcomes to you before you get to a better life. If they can weigh down you with these actual outcomes before you actually go out and fly right, you are going to forever be dependent on them for advice on how to move forward. And another thing about trust, a lot of these people are not going to be able to move without you being stagnant. A lot of these people are depending on you being stagnant. A lot of these people are depending on you being lost. A lot of these people are depending on you being stuck for their own survival. As a learner too. First time I see like an E4 be there for 10 years. Then I actually realized that this guy never really wanted anything else in life but to be a leader. But to be a leader. Or an actual E5 who spent 20 years being an E5. You could have been an E5 in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You got the same type of rank and structure with your black community. And like how do you talk about these things about communism, socialism, all that kind of stuff? What about the communism and socialism that is kind of here around chasing the same hundred that you get from inside? That's the real socialism. The real socialism. The real socialism is claiming that you got the control of what is part of it, but you can't actually stand. That's what we got. Hey, where we at? Most of the people claim to be all these things. They're actually those things in the car. You try to draw the actual level of definition out there. You try to point it out again. It doesn't make any sense. If you have an actual outcome of the things that you intended to create, you'll be on a level of for everything else that we actually talk about. Hey, I'm still talking. There's nothing wrong with my stuff. Can you still not hear me? Hit the one in the chat. You can still hear me. Yeah, I didn't do anything to the sound. I don't know why you wasn't able to hear me. Yeah, but this is what it is. It's like, look, you have to realize that most women are winning because they have a very nice contingent of men who are helping them win. Most of the men who are women winning right now, what are they winning based off of? Are they winning based off productivity? Are they winning based off of investments? Or are they winning based off of entertainment? Like, dude, this entertainment piece is going to be able to drown you out to the point to where you're never going to be able to actually
do anything in life. Life isn't entertainment, man. At the end of the day, providing comfort to stagnant people is going to have its outset. And that's where you gotta be. You gotta make sure that your actual where you're going to be in life right now is not going to be based on anybody else's opinion, but your own. And your accomplishments based on your own, based off of making sure that you've left most of this stuff behind. But this is where we are. Dude, this stuff is too easy to figure out now. Other cultures of people have already not had the association with most of these people, and they're making it right. This is why they don't want dissension within the manosphere. They don't want there to be any type of criticism toward the space. You can't put most of these people on TV and have them talk about the actual issues that they have with the counterpart within society. They would be thrown off TV in a heartbeat. Even the largest guy won't be invited on TV in any shape, form, or fashion. You can't sell Procter and Gamble goods or any other type of goods to this type of nonsense that's going on here. But you can towards men making progress without the counterpart coming along. That's how this stuff works. You're not going to be having mundane conversations about how to be stuck within society unless there's going to be a significant level of penalty associated with it. Imagine if these people were to make it to mainstream America and they don't talk to Obsidian on TV and they pulled up any one of these guys talking about the manosphere. Do you realize how quickly they would destroy this space if they were to bring most of these people up on TV? These people who can't even argue their points of view or even talk about the actual futures of the things that they actually want to do. Do you realize what exactly what that conversation would look like? You would actually be the average at best man version. When you go onto national television talking about male issues without productivity. Most of these people who want the manosphere to go mainstream are not the people who's going to be able to represent it in the mainstream. Because in the mainstream, you got to have a track record in the mainstream. You got to have results in the mainstream. The mainstream is not about talking points. That only works in the right wing universe. Name a person who would go on Fox News 5 minutes. No universal control, no universal protections, no type of lawyerly type of outcomes you can hold people responsible to. And they're going to ask you questions about the dating environment. Who would you be able to trust to have that conversation out there if you don't have your independent level of power outside of their opinion? They would bring on a woman finer than you ever would imagine, and you would be sipping out on national TV looking crazy. Because apparently you can't even do that stuff in the chats here. within the space itself. A lot of these people want the black manosphere or the manosphere talking points, quote unquote, to go mainstream. So that way they can have a mainstream reason of staying stagnant in conversations that they don't need to be a part of because they can make individual progress in their own life. It's not going to work. These people are going to invite you on to chop you into pieces. They have media companies, strategists, everything else. They know how to get to you and the people who want to look at you. Most of these people who want the manosphere to go mainstream, ask them why. Why you want the manosphere to go mainstream? The manosphere going mainstream would destroy the space any faster than anything else that you can recognize. Because they're going to invite on the weakest of the weak to be able to castigate the entire space as one group of people or another. How other people have tried to do it within the space. I do see that. I do see that they think money and dollar signs is the actual method and goal of actually doing that. But there's not a person here that I would trust to be able to actually tell or talk about our points in front of mainstream America. There's not many people. Not many. There's not many. Maybe two people. And those two people, they only have simple questions that would actually throw them off guard, as if you have to answer them what type of personal track record that you have to actually put forward to actually say that this is the actual ramifications of where we should go as men. And there is really nobody within the space who is happily married within the age range that makes sense, who got in and out of this damaged marketplace. That's how that works. Like they're gonna look at the product from beginning to end. Like the Manosphere was always focused on that. It's just that the people wanted the Manosphere to be the new hangout point for people who wasn't actually progressing in life, period. And that's what happened. I mean, you got people marketing genetic credibility, regardless of results. You have people marketing height credibility, regardless of the results. You have people marketing all these other things that women would like as credibility in the actual marketplace, other than actual results. The actual results is based on control, not access. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like claiming a manosphere is a very dumbass idea at this point. It is. And that guy's not gonna claim the manosphere. He's gonna shout it out. Those people built him up, but at the end of the day, that guy can't take this toxic shit with him. He can't. He can't. And you have to realize that that's the case. A lot of people don't get that. A lot of people don't get how that stuff works. But they actually needed to subtract productivity out of the manosphere and place it on a woman's opinion. An uncultured woman's opinion was going to be able to determine these people's future. And that's what the actual job of the manosphere was. That's why we let dating coaches, video players, and all this kind of other dinosaur max and all this kind of other stuff that don't have a level of track record that actually produce actual results in the space in the first place. This is why this is not a concept that can be challenged. These people have been invited on national shows. They've declined. You want to know why? This isn't a track record that you can endorse. You can't endorse a track record based on the products that are sold within the marketplace here. It's not possible. Why don't you explain that? Explain what you just said. Explain what you just said there, sir. How is people claiming that they have 500 to 600 lay counts within a bad environment? How is that going to help you out? So explain it. Explain how having women on to talk to them about how delusional they are, how is that going to help you get better than the women in the marketplace that you shouldn't even be talking to in the first place? I don't know. You tell me. It's your statement. Why don't you tell me? So your actual internet figures don't work whenever you're asked valid questions, or what's going on? Being around women don't equal interacting with women. It doesn't. It's a bad marketplace. You know what? Inviting them onto their show is accepting a lot of BS from them, sir. That's exactly what it is. Like, are you better than them or are you not better than them? If they're actually are your end goal, which is their actual if their actual opinion is your actual end goal of your actual compromise, then yes, it is a bad idea. The only way you can clearly not take BS from women is to deal with a different group of people altogether, sir. So if you are going to actually get yourself in the best shape of your life, get yourself in the best productivity of your entire life, and then turn around and deal with nothing but the same people of the environment that you could have stayed away from in the first place and claim that you have high leg counts for the people within the environment, you've actually given the woman everything that she actually wanted within the environment. You have no level of power over. The only way to fully take not BS from those people is to not even invite them to the conversation in the first place. Yeah, and most of those women would easily do amateur porn with the same people. Come on, dude. They'll do anything to get on and get famous because most of these dudes are not even talking to women for real. This is why a orchestrated conversation around talking to women, even in Miami. Have anybody been to Miami? Have anybody walked around Miami? The people who are in Miami are not the women that come on the show, period. Especially not the hot ones. Yeah, I don't think that's the case. The show is about having women on and having them explain or display their female nature, and the men actually on there display their actual opinions versus female nature that they present, and they're not. It shows that they're feeding you into the same problem that they haven't solved. Period. They haven't solved the problem because if they solved the problem, they wouldn't need the women on the show. They would easily be able to move on to a different group of women that are not those women, sir. Because here's the thing: they're bringing the women to the table to show off female nature. Well, how come they're not showing off alpha nature by just letting those women not be on the panel at all? How come we got to bring all these unfeminine women to the table? How come we can't bring actual act right, feminine, conservative women to the table who actually want to be with men? Why do we have to deal with all these people in the environment that are actually people that you don't want to be with? No, I mean it's not an opinion. It's a contrived show, sir. Like you have to understand the difference between a contrived show and actual reality. Because if you actually knew how women acted who actually wanted to treat men like men, you wouldn't be watching shows like that. I don't have anything against the people, but they're putting on a contrived show that doesn't lead to any actual results because no one is off the actual marketplace, sir. They're on the same marketplace that you're on. They're dipping in the same pool that you're on. And I'm not trying to feed you into a bad environment. I'm trying to get you to change your mind state to have different levels of actual, what do you call it, experiences. So that way you can understand the good from the bad. When I go back on the road in 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to be all over this country, the lower 48. Maybe I'm even going to go to Alaska before, like, you know, August or September. I'm itching to do that again. Going up all the way up Canada. I haven't done that in like 5 or 10 years. I want to do that again. And actually catalog that. So that way people can know what I'm talking about when I say I don't want to go to Alaska from actual America. You gotta love the new people with their new questions, as if they can't have their IP addresses tracked back to their actual original location. I love how that works. How they can just ask all of these specific questions about specific podcasts where you can't track it back to them. Yeah, so that's nice. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, man, this marketplace isn't getting better. Your compromise is only getting better, sir. Your compromise is getting better, not the marketplace. I don't have a problem with anything that's going on. I'm just telling you about the overall results of what's happening. And those are two completely separate different things. And this is why you can't have corporate individuals who care about this actual product. because they see the actual con behind this thing, like I do. You have to realize that it's not really the people who hears your message, it's the practicality and the realness of them. You have to realize that there's not law enforcement, medical professionals, or psychological professionals who actually endorse these types of things going on here within the environment. They don't. Yeah, they actually think that these people think that they could just make those type of statements without shit being monitored. Everything's monitored, man. Everything's monitored. Yeah, because people just don't just show up out of nowhere asking specific questions about specific podcasts unless they are those people or they're associated with those people. This shit's fake. It's obvious. But you guys have got to realize that the real world is out there waiting for you to actually experience. They're only taking advantage of the fact that you don't have the experience with the real world because you haven't went anywhere. And once you actually go places, you don't have to actually be beholden to these people's opinions or their entertainment value or what they produce. It's not hard. The only way you can change these people is with new inventory and leaving their ass out the door. That's the only way that works. If you have so much of a better deal than them, then you should be able to easily move on to better people. Period. Now, how come the older individuals are not teaching you to move on to better individuals? That's a better question. Why is everybody trying to teach you that dealing with these people within this environment is the actual height of your actual masculinity? Is dealing with all the other people that everybody else have dealt with? How much sense does that make? Yeah, but you have to realize, but that's a dumb man's game, sir. You really think that Miami, the area where it's at, because most women there with money don't even mess with guys who don't have money, regardless of status or looks. Did you know that? Yeah, Miami is a top earner area, but it's not a top earner area versus a Denver or a Boston or a New York or a Kansas City or anywhere else. It's a vacation destination. It's kind of like Honolulu for like the United States. It isn't a representation of what's within the marketplace. I could tell you haven't walked around San Diego as a person, walking around San Diego and comparing the women there is in San Diego, California, versus the women that have on the show within Miami. There's no way you could compare the two. They look nowhere near the same. What they do is they try to sell working class men as if they're not worthy of good looking women. Well, beauty in a woman is pretty goddamn basic, sir. It's pretty basic. Like a guy being in shape, that's pretty basic. But being an uncultured woman, that's not basic. That's particular. Yeah, that's the thing, man. It doesn't matter how you spice it up. Dealing with people within the bad marketplace specifically so that way you can prove how much more man you are than other people is a very dumb idea. Extremely dumb. So you want to tell me that feeding yourself into her baseline desires, giving her the best deal that she would ever want out of anything else on the planet is a good deal for men? Or is it a good deal for her? It's a good deal for her. It's an extremely good deal for her. Actually, most dating coaches and relationship professionals create men that's going to be the fodder for her actual point of view. That's why they try to feed you into female nature, not try to teach you how to get past female nature with a different group of actual people. That's how you solve the female nature issue. If you want to solve the female nature issue, you deal with it with a different culture of people. All right, man. Say what you like. You guys are lost. Hey, I don't follow fake people who are not within the actual dating environment on advice of the dating environment. I just moved on to a different group of people. I moved on to people within a different culture and a different environment, and I got better results. I didn't have, you know what? I learned all the same game that you did. I just decided to use it in a very different way by staying away from the actual outcomes of the people that I didn't want to deal with. That's a better way to do game. Learn all this stuff, deal with different people. Learn all this stuff, deal with different people. That's what I'm saying. Like Xander Clutch, like they can use this information against people who haven't been anywhere. But for a person who's traveled the world like I have, I know these environments inside and out. I don't have to 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 learn how to get whatever they want to get out of a bad marketplace. I could just move on to a different environment, a different culture. But you know what? I respect that guy from that camp, or actually putting forth his actual conversations within this actual discussion within itself, because it doesn't make any sense. Because if you invite them on, they would never be able to explain their points of view because it doesn't make any sense. I don't think that being completely bitch made is going to help you be a man, sir. I think that feeding yourself into her baseline desires would make her have complete control over you. And especially if you're not even in the marketplace within itself and you get to control all the people who come within the marketplace, you become the kingmaker in this situation. You gotta love when men shoot straight to the actual ability to acting just like women very quickly whenever they're criticized for their point of view. That's not a man tactic, sir. A man would actually come up here, hit the link, come up here and debate the actual issues, and not like most of these dudes actually think that being a Bravo Alpha November is being a masculine male. It isn't. You have to establish your own credibility and actual track record outside of this woman's actual opinion. WABT, WABD. If you can't establish yourself as a man in an environment without both of those two things, you're going to be ever chasing your tail inside this environment. And this is why you don't see dating coaches in those type of areas, sir. Because like you don't see dating coaches on Kenny Bumport, Maine. You don't see dating coaches in actual Manhattan, New York. You don't see dating coaches in anywhere else where you don't see dating coaches in Cherry Creek, Denver. You don't see dating coaches eh, most of the upscale areas in actual Dallas or San Antonio or anywhere else, they're only online because there's not a group of men with money who would trust dudes who would trust a dating coach, period. Oh, especially Fairfax. Yeah. Dude, like the last time I went to like an actual Pentagon party was 2 years ago, and I did an actual story on that about a guy who thought he had game. He met actual feminine women before in his life, and this guy actually thought that the women actually wanted him when the women were actually that nice to everybody in general, thanks to their culture. Dude got kicked out of the party. Why? He thought a woman wanted him, when she was just actually just being nice to everybody. Like these dudes want to take shots everywhere that they can because they're scavengers, sexual scavengers, man. That's all that they're trying to prepare you. Well, that's not a difference in opinion. You like my difference in opinion is status is over everything. Your difference of opinion has to mean that putting yourself in a specific situation is worth more than anything else. Like your system works as long as the man's opinion don't matter. That's all you are. Sexual scavengers. That's it. That's all you are. You're teaching men to be sexual scavengers. And this is why they try to shit on the biggest, ugliest women possible, while they try to make it look like that they're actually using it on the same women that they see on the actual show. It's not hard, sir. I'm way ahead of you. If everybody has so much game, why do you have ones out of tens with kids? Actually, you know what? None of these dudes go to Salt Lake City. That's a bunch of good looking women there per per capita. You don't see none of these dudes going out there trying to pick up women out there. You don't see that. I mean, you want to have a difference in opinion when there's clearly no difference in opinion at all. My difference in opinion is based on an actual experience that people can actually get to and experience. Your difference in opinion is based on simple facts that you want to think that simple cities and dealing with women is better than everything else. No, dude, you still got to build yourself. You still got to get to the better level of skill with different women, dude. Like it don't work like that. But you have to recognize that for your state opinion to be true, people would have to be filled with a level of red pill paranoia in order for them to be able to engage in the actual quote unquote sexual marketplace that you prepare for them by inciting a level of sexual hostility to where they have to go practice this stuff on the nearest person that they're around, creating more sexual scavengers within the environment. Like most people who use this information, they use it on the most lowest quality people as possible in a low quality environment. There's no such thing as a high quality hit in a low quality environment. It isn't. No, they're actually struggling with short term sexual access for actual with women who are not worth it. Like that's the problem here. Like if they were actually living in a country like there's no country with legalized prostitution that this channel is actually even hitting in. I actually grew up in these countries when I was in the military, right? So I wasn't socialized into a bad sexual marketplace. I actually didn't even know prostitution was even legal over there until I was over there for 6 or 8 months, period. Women are actually socialized to give their best self to men. Like women are not socialized to give their best self to men over here. They're just not socialized to do that. And this is the actual marketplace that people like you, who you listen to, prey upon, sir. They prey upon men who don't know their actual value. So they try to get the actual value through sexual validation when they should be preparing their best selves for women who don't even have this type of experience. It makes all the sense in the world, by the way, about how they do business and oh, their channel blew up. Oh, there they are. Oh, they're so famous. It's like, dude, listen, if it's a bullshit product, it's supposed to be more famous than things that are realistic and honest. Because the things that I practice is realistic and honest on a person to person basis. The things that you actually look at as entertainment that's supposed to be act as a mirror for real life, it isn't actually realistic, sir. It isn't realistic. On a day to day basis, it is not realistic. If it was realistic, these people would be on every single show in America if this stuff works. It's entertainment. It's just not labeled as entertainment. It's not real life, it's entertainment. Because the best man, no matter black or white, can go to a different marketplace with their average selves and get a hell of a lot better return on investment than they would within this marketplace here. But see, those people think that putting yourself in the best market for your actual things that you have to offer is somehow a worse deal. And you have to realize that that's not the case. So you have to be able to understand that men actually put themselves in marketplaces that work. Men don't actually socialize people in marketplaces that don't work. Because things that don't work overall, sir, isn't something that you should be engaged in, entertainment or not. That there's no reason for you to be able to do that. I argue this stuff every day. It's not a problem for me. Productive men are always in season. Always in season. You can say whatever you like. You can say whatever you want. You can invite on any number of Instagram women that you would actually desire. It doesn't matter. These people are still on the market in their 30s and 40s for a reason. That's because they don't know how to choose. So if you socialize men to how to choose better, they're actually already better than the women, sir. But those men are trying to make it look like they can provide those level of results of the women that they actually talk to on a one-to-one basis with the men that actually watch. And that's the actual problem, sir. It's just that it's a contrived show. It isn't reality. It isn't anything else. It isn't. You can make all the actual arguments that you want in favor of them. It's entertainment value, sir. There's not a clinical psychologist on that show. There's not a person on that show that's a behavioral psychologist. There's not a person on that show that's a member of law enforcement or any other type of verified career field that deal with these type of issues on a day-to-day basis. They're just people. They can clearly get somebody on that show who actually believes in their point of view. You can buy medical opinion now. It's not hard, but the fact that they haven't done so already is crazy. Dude, listen, man. Some of the worst songs, listen. Remember when the guy made the song Afro Man because I got high? That song sold 10 million units. Is that a overall song that's good? No. It's because I got high, because I got high, because I got high. That's what that is. It's a contrived song. Yes, you have to realize, man. And every time that guy appeared on somebody else's song, he didn't even sound like the same guy. He sounded dumb as shit. Yeah, you have to realize that. You have to realize that. But a lot of these dudes out here actually want to blow up and want to be famous and want to be selling the sexual marketplace to other people. Dude, it's not even a realistic goal or standard for anybody. It isn't. But for a person who's never felt the level of success themselves, it's everything to them. Because they was able to fake it till they make it. They came online, they invite a bunch of Instagram people on, and yeah, it works. That's because the marketplace is bad, not because they have a certain level of success. Like I said, I don't have a problem with the people, but at the end of the day, if you're going to defend their points of view, they don't even think that dealing with women of different cultures is even a viable option. You have to learn things their way, and they're not even red pill. That's the other crazy thing about it. Nobody who's red pill is selling you answers on how to get back into the same marketplace to actually deal with the same women. That's not what the red pill is about. Yeah, they're green pill grifters, dude. They're not even red pill. They're not. That's just where we're at. And it's like, it's awesome that you don't even see black men other than myself, or even older black men outside of myself, who have a platform even telling you about these basic, simplistic things that could put you in a better life. Because everybody want to get their rap career off through this actual thing that want to keep things the same and broken for everybody else. Actually, it's gotten pretty easy for guys who want to leave this shit alone, sir. But if you want to feed yourself into the women's desire through their system, which is the sexual marketplace through social media, then by all means, you're going to have the toughest time possible doing things her way, which you hold the key to, right? So, how is actually feeding a woman everything that she desires actually is displaying a level of masculine success or even control or dominance over her? You have men out here, men who's asking other men for their social media. I've never heard another woman come online asking me for my social media. Ever. 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 But see, this is how it happens. Like most of these dudes think that they could feed themselves into the Bravo Alpha November level of actually playing the woman's game, that they've actually reached a level of success. It doesn't make any sense. That's another good point, sir. Most of the dudes who don't like tricking and everything else are longtime tricks through the child support system. No one ever talks about that. No one ever talks about that. That's the thing I'm talking about, man. It's like, look, once you fit yourself into a certain level of masculinity, actual masculinity based on accomplishments and staying away from uncultured women threatens guys like this. They just assume all women are uncultured by design across the board. And this is how the actual female nature market has grown because they give women whatever they want, and then they sell you this carrot to think that you're going to be able to bypass all of the female nature characteristics that they actually fed these women to the entire time. It doesn't work that way, sir. Yeah, Top Dog, why don't you listen to it? He from our area. He from our area. Listen to it. That guy nearly won Album of the Year as a single. He nearly won it. Yeah, he's from Mississippi. Yeah, of course he is. Yeah, but see, Top Dog, like these people don't realize the reality of the fact that this is a contrived show. It's not reality. Reality is if you get your shit together and if you get your productivity up, you're not gonna need these guys' help. So they want to teach you to think that fitting you into their actual the way the women act is the best place for you, and it doesn't work that way. But see, this is what happens when you have non-masculine men who actually come around masculine men based on tangibles and results and all this kind of other stuff. That stuff is based on opinion and contrived show, and then there's actual results, which is different from contrived show. Like, there's not law enforcement, medical professionals, psychological professionals who sign off on what you're doing. So you have to understand that what you're doing is fraud, sir. It's fraud. Graduate. Like, these things are really not that hard to figure out. But for some of these people, they really think that because they get the best results out of a bad marketplace, that they're good at doing it. And it doesn't make any sense. So they lock themselves into a room with people who do nothing but agree with them. And that's it. So they come online, hard charging about what the actual level of success is. And for some reason that they won. It doesn't matter. It's a marketplace where you don't win, sir. No, that was me. That was me. I had to mute. I had another phone call come in. Sorry about that. But that's where we are, man. So if you want to come on, you can email me at this email address. And I'll send you a link. If you want to come on. If you want to come on, you want to talk, send me an email. So that way you can get a link. You can come on, man. Not a big deal. Like I said, man, like if you want a challenge, just come on. It's not a big deal. Maybe you have better answers than I do. It's not hard. It's not hard, sir. You want to come on? Come on. And I'm just going to prove how much of a Bravo Alpha November you are with everything you talk about. Everything is based on a woman's opinion. Everything is. And the perceived woman's opinion. Because we know you don't get actual women. Because actual women don't listen to you. Hoes listen to you. And dudes who want to be respected by hoes listen to this type of shit. Actual dudes who have their shit together. You don't see no millionaires listening to shit like this. You don't see no millionaires asking these type of dumb motherfuckers for help and advice and shit. Dudes who have their shit together, they've already moved on to a different marketplace. That's how it works. Once you have your shit together, you don't even have to deal with this type of marketplace. But these people have actually dipped themselves within the marketplace as the actual specialists or specialization of their masculinity, and it's fucking stupid. I can quite easily take my transportation company to Northeast New England, where I have little to no contacts in, and try to do business in the worst type of marketplace possible. It would be dumb as fuck for me to go up there and do that, right? Because I know what actual industry to feed myself into versus one where I can build my own shit without their actual help. It's not hard. Yeah. So how did you get delayed within that marketplace environment? You gotta get like yeah, well, we're just waiting on them to come on. Yeah, we're gonna see what's going on, man. So send them a link, email me, so we're gonna see what's going on. So we're gonna see if this dude acts like any less of the Bravo Alpha November that most of the actual dudes within the space claim that they are. That they're actually good with the actual people within this environment. I think it should be a good conversation. Because you need to see how these people literally crumble under actual criticism and realistic and simplistic questions here. So, yeah, man, like just clicking on the link shouldn't take all day, all night. I don't know what to still wait on. Oh man, this dude did all this noise in the chat and he didn't even come up. Come on, man. What's going on? Like I seen these dudes come on to other shows, man, and they just try to just hammerhead their way through the conversation about with the ovulate anyway narrative and that I'm a better man than you because I'm so much alpha than you. I'm much alpha than you. Yeah, I literally want to hear some of this stuff, man. It's very good to hear. What this guy's waiting on, man. Well, that guy's not gonna come. Where yet, man? Well, you know what? I'll just put it out there in the chat so that way he can't say that I didn't send it to him in the email. So you're gonna see this. It doesn't matter, man. Okay, all right. Well, it's in the chat now. Yeah, you can just click on the chat before you actually come on. You turn your camera off, and we just have a conversation, man. Not a big deal. I don't know what you were gonna say when you come on, man. Like the only thing you could do is just hulk out on the "I don't get no ass" shit. Like that's the only argument you got at this point. All you gotta do, hit the link, turn the camera on, come on. That's it. But not game dudes seeking my creator because the tech is so upscale that game dudes still can't use it, man. All you gotta do is literally hit the damn link in the chat from YouTube and come on. That's it. Boom, there we go. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I'm back in the house now. Somebody was downstairs, so I'm in the house now. So, all right, man. So, what's the actual deal here? Like, yeah, you just didn't connect your audio to it. Like, StreamYards is so easy to use that it's literally no excuse for not hitting the link, man. Literally none. And I even emailed it to you. So, until they realized they could push their street image online and get money out of the street failed street dudes checking for you, and then that's when it became a place for them. What's going on, man? No, but I did turn it around, and it took a while, and a lot of people don't understand that turning your life around takes the mind state like 15, 20 years before you actually get a result out of it. And a lot of people wonder, like, hey, man, I want to turn it around temporarily so that way I can get my stuff together. And then I want to turn around and just give it away to Keisha. Like, that's it. That's the type of nonsense that took over the manosphere, by the way, right? Where you have whack ass old men who don't have any type of definition or specific type of result come out and try to
host all of these conversations with these dumbass people online and think that putting all these reptiles in one bag is somehow going to equal some type of result for everybody equally across the board. Man, get out of here, man. That stuff was never going to work. It was never going to work. Never going to work. I'd rather have no audience than an audience full of fucking traitors, man. Fuck that. So we're going to see what this dude's going to do. Is he going to hit the link again, or he going to act like he don't know what it is? Come on, man. Just hit the link, bruh. See if he sent me another email or something. But this is how it goes, man. Like most of these dudes, they want the link. You know what? Maybe I need to bring Jessica X up here. I guarantee you I have a bunch of reptiles up here in a heartbeat if I bring Jessica X up here. A lot of these dumb motherfuckers who you see just hanging out in the chat who would probably block would actually come onto the actual live stream in a heartbeat if they actually came up here. Here we go, man. You up here again. I don't see the fucking audio being connected, man. That's you not connecting your actual audio, man. That's not on this end. StreamYards is extremely easy to use, even for a phone, man. Yeah, that's you. That's on you. It's still you. Not everybody in the chat sees what the fuck I see. Yeah, man, let's see what I see. So you got so much game, but you can't hit the link, bruh? Man, what's going on, man? What's going on, man? Yeah, you know what? Maybe I need to bring Jessica X and Melody up here. Yeah, like that's what I need to do. I need to bring them both up here. So that way I could bring all these hoe ass motherfuckers who got blocked from the fucking chat up here. Like Bitcoin L and like stupid motherfuckers like that. Yeah. Yeah, so it's just you, man. It's you. You got all this game, all this shit to say in the chat, but you can't hit the link properly, man. What's going on, bro? Yeah, I'm sure you did, Ike. Yeah, I'm sure you did, man. Nice heel turn, by the way, man. This dude act like he can't hit a simple link, man. You got game, but you can't hit a link? You can't hit a link? A link? No, I had a guy, Game Changer, coming on who wanted to defend his actual stance and who actually wanted to actually argue with me in person, which is not a good idea on his part, about what my actual ideas are. Man, it would be fitting, man, that you got the actual F avatar for your name because you ain't got no picture of, bruh. Damn, man. Yeah, man, just hit the actual link, man. Yeah, man, just hit the link, man. Not a big deal, man. Just hit the link, man. I don't know, man. Like you know, when you bring up these dudes who are actually have fed themselves into the marketplace, who think they're better than everybody else, man. Listen, man, you never know what these dudes gonna say, man. You never know, man. Oh man. Who is this? Hold on a second, man. Hold on a second. Hey man, hold on a second. Whoever you are in the back, hold on a second, man. What's up, man?
Yeah, I wanted to sort of follow up to see what was going on. It sounded like you said you were about to leave this space, and
yeah, man, I'm done with this shit, man. Like for real, man. Like these dudes don't need this type of help from me, man. They need help with the actual women itself. So I'm just gonna change up the whole thing and what the fuck I'm doing overall, man.
So you still gonna stick around though, aren't you?
Not with this type of shit. Nah, man. Not at all,
man. I'm confused. So because I mean I've learned a lot, and so you know when it's one of the things I don't understand is when you feel like you're not helping anyone or people that can't be helped. I don't think you see how big a difference you're making, because you might have, of course, you're going to have some negativity and people are going to go against you. But no, I think
that's not the issue. That's not the issue. Like the majority of people here, dude, you follow them over to other places, and these motherfuckers are on some monkey branch and shit. Like they over here in the fuckery space, and they come over here and try to act like they're here for the progress shit, and they ain't for any of that shit, really overall, man. So like the people who still want the help, they'll get it. It's just that I need to market specifically toward those people who need the help, rather than trying to just try to be part of the Black Manosphere overall. Maybe I explained it wrong.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. But yeah, I just didn't want you to think that, you know, you're not making a difference, because believe me, man, you're making a hell of a difference. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
No, it's just like, look, it's like the younger people who are like most of the people who I talk to offline are not even, oh shit, he may be here now. Like most of the people who I talk to offline are women who trying to get their sons right, older dudes who's trying to get their sons right, reformed gang members and shit who ain't on the street shit no more, who's trying to get their sons and daughter right. And they don't understand why the fuck I'm here. And it's like, once I took 2 months off, right? Right now I'm in Columbus, Ohio, because of the shooting and shit. So I need to get around on example what the fuck is happening here. And it's like, once you start seeing this shit up close, it's like the Manosphere is not a place where the fuck I need to be at. No, like it's like the people who actually need the fucking help don't know shit about the Manosphere, right? They don't know shit about any of this shit, right? And it's like, I'm not sure what brought you to my channel or how long you even been here. I'm not even going to ask that. But at the end of the day, the people who actually need my fucking help are not within the 20,000 people who are viewing my channel. I need a nonprofit organization that's set up specifically to go and help these people with the actual shit that they need help with. Because there are actually parents who are just behind the times and don't know what the fuck they're doing. And then there's actually the parents who actually have really fucked their shit up and still want to actually change it, right? So it's not like a popularity contest, because I give a fuck about the outcome. Like the outcomes is major. Like it don't give a fuck about popularity or anything else. So it's like, you could be on some bullshit at the first beginning of your life. Like most of the people who I meet are actually reformed pookies. By the way, not educated, so-called lames or any of that dumbass shit. Most of the people that I meet are people who's trying to get their shit together now, right? So it's not like most of the people who I need to help are even on YouTube, period. Most of these motherfuckers here on YouTube are here to hang out with people who ain't trying to fucking go nowhere, period. And it's like, I'm marketing the right shit the wrong way to the wrong people. It wasn't like my shit was supposed to catch fire because I'm in the top 0.00001% of motherfuckers in the United States. So it was very clear that I wasn't going to reach these people with this fucking message. But I was giving it to the wrong fucking people overall, too. So that was my fault. You know, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing here. You know, so that was on me. That was on me. So yeah. So that's what I had. Like I need to broaden what the fuck I do to people who actually need my help, because now that I see what the sides are now, the sides are deal with this woman, hang out with this woman, no matter what, and end up getting your life fucked up anyway, or respond to what the woman's doing within the environment. I've already moved on from this woman like fucking 20-something years ago, man. 20-something fucking years ago. I had better experiences up front, and I never wanted to go back to dealing with this motherfucker in this environment. This is why people who claim that they got game and shit, like, what are you talking about? I met older black men who claimed that they had game in the fucking late 90s, early 2000s, who were still facing the consequences of this shit. And it's quite obvious this is what these dudes want. So if I got to grow my numbers, then I got to go directly to the numbers that I'm trying to grow. I can't be trying to grow my numbers in a place to where people ain't trying to grow. You know what I'm saying? People trying to hang the fuck out, right? That's different than people who are trying to grow.
Well, I just found you through Ohim's channel, the Crypto Gang, and you know he changed my life. And so when I seen that he recommended you, I said, man of tomorrow, like this guy is great. And just so you know, I'm not very young. You know, I just turned 38, and so you know, I really started to. I never was in a lot of trouble or anything like that, but I changed my life around in the sense that I sort of grew up under a rock. So at my age, as old as I am, there was a lot of basics things that I didn't know. And so I feel like I was, even though I'm this old, I kind of feel like I was born yesterday, because it was a lot of things I went through that I was starting to sort of, you know, begin to see the world and see that it was different from what I sort of thought it was, you know. And, you know, for whatever reason, I just think it's strange that your channel never had showed up, you know. And so I don't know however YouTube does things, but these channels are kind of hard to find. You have to really search and dig for them. And someone like yourself, like, I don't know, could you give me some ideas? If you go to a different space, like, would I still be able to go to this channel and still find you? Or like, how do you plan on going? Where do you plan on going from here?
I don't know, man. I'll think about deleting this channel and starting all the way the fuck over. Because there's ways you can start over now and you can build like a big channel within months and shit pretty easy rather than you could before. Because I got with like actual professionals and shit who does this shit for a fucking living. And that's how come like my older shit from 3 years ago isn't up. Because one, it violates YouTube policy and guidelines. One. And second, it's some shit that you can't just give out to people. You can't do that shit. Because most of it is like real truth. Like if you actually practice the shit, you'd be out of this shit by now. So like right now you're listening to like the season 3 of like the Man of Tomorrow shit. I started off at the "as if nobody ever knew who the fuck I was" shit before I was jumping on panels and shit like 2 or 3 years ago, right? So it's like I'm like most people are here not for progress; they're here to hang out, and that's not a problem, by the way. People always want to hang out no matter where you go and what you're a part of. But I have so much good information out there. I could just repackage the shit with all my vitriol for the actual problems, and I could have a better channel overall with it. That's what I think. So, or that's what they think too. Because it's like, you know, when you ever actually run across people who've been into a ton of fucking trouble and shit, like a lot of people are starting over, man. Like every time that I had to start over, it felt like this moment right here where I wanted to like just fucking fuck this shit, delete this shit. I don't need this shit. I need to start the fuck over, man. for real. Because this shit ain't working. Not for me. I give a damn about the outcome and the future of the shit. So it ain't nothing to me for to turn the camera on and just go. You know, I got thousands of years of experience through law enforcement. That's before I even had real world experience outside of the shit, right? So I know how this shit can end. I've seen how it can end, and that's just the experience through law enforcement. But when you've seen it like up front, close and personal by yourself, like that's the thing, man. I've seen this shit. And the actual hangout till you actually make this shit, it don't fucking work, man. It don't work. It don't work at all, man. So what's going on, Fully guy? What's going on, man? All right, I unmuted it, man. What's going on, man? Now you put yourself back on mute, man. What's going on, man?
You hear me? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, what's going on, brother? I wasn't trying to disrespect you on your show or nothing. I was just trying to see what your perspective of on that Fresh and Fit podcast, because it's like it's a whole new wave. So I've been watching you since 2018. So
you're like a wave of
like
what?
I'm saying it's like different. Like nobody ever had women in one room and just basically show female nature. That's why I just wanted to get your perspective.
Like, dude, like, you know, female nature is bullshit, right?
Why you say that?
Because females don't have a nature. Females just have shit that they get away with. That's like criminal nature. Criminal nature have shit that they get away with until they get locked the fuck up. There's nothing special about female nature. Nothing at all. I mean, it's just that the environment that they're in and the shit that they actually get away with. Like, those women are not on there because they're actually want to give their opinion. They actually want to get famous by being on the podcast and going actually, you know what I'm saying, viral or some shit. I mean, I'm aware of how that works. It's not a realistic conversation. Like, the Fresh and Fit dudes are not, they're not behavioral psychologists. They're not clinical psychologists. They're not medical professionals. They're not endorsed by the American Medical Association, American Health Association, the American Psychological Association. They're not endorsed by any law enforcement affiliation or anything else. So if you're inviting people on, people who actually don't respect men at all because of the way that they look and how they act within society, that's not helping you with female nature at all. It's just teaching you how to bow down to female nature. And that's not what female nature is about.
My fault, not to cut you off, but don't you think most women in society today are being programmed to act that way?
I don't give a fuck about what they're being programmed with. I don't care about what they're being programmed with. I don't care about that. And that's what you need to say first. You ever play Street Fighter or motherfucking Killer Instinct ever in your life?
Hell yeah.
Ever? Yeah, Combo Breaker. Combo Breaker is, I don't give a fuck about what they think. I'm not going to feed myself into their actual system so that way they can have control over me, man. So it's just like, look, they haven't proved that they have this shit under control because they're inviting women onto their fucking show that they don't control. They don't control those fucking women that come onto their show. You have to realize that. They don't control the women that come on their show. The women who have free access come on their show to share their perspectives of how free they are in society at best. Like, they come onto the show to actually do that man shit, but those women have free access and reign inside the environment. So it's like this. If you actually had control over your shit, you wouldn't need women, man. Like the actual control over your own environment means that women's opinion don't even matter at all, especially uncultured women, raised a very certain and specific way, because they're not inviting feminine women, cultured women, conservative women on their show. They're inviting on the type of women who would end up in like some porn shoot behind some fucking garbage can shit on their fucking show.
All right. But I got a question. So how would you know? How would you find those type of women? You have to vet them. You have to invite them.
You don't. No, you don't.
Conversate with them and see where their mind's at.
Listen, man, look. Women who actually want to show up
like
on
a girl could be a 10, she could be a 10, but as soon as she opens her mouth, that could instantly drop to like a 4 or 3.
Okay, what 10 have you seen on that show?
I'm not going. You're right. Not a 10. No woman's a 10. I'd say like she could be a 9 in looks. Let's say that a 9 in looks, and then as soon as she opens her mouth, it just drop to a 3, 2, 4. So you have to actually vet them to see that.
It's not the women. It's the marketplace, right? So you can actually go somewhere else. Like I actually endorse. Like the only thing you can do is replace them at this point with different things. So it's like
right. So you just said it's the marketplace, and they're being programmed to act like that.
They're not being programmed. They're only taking advantage of the things that are right in front of their face. Like they're not doing anything wrong. Like, listen, when I went to Germany and there was like legalized prostitution and most good-looking German women wanted to fucking fuck me, guess what I did? I had every fucking woman that I wanted to fucking have access to that I didn't ask for. But I still had to act like a reasonable fucking adult, even with all those fucking options and shit. So that was that environment.
You were leading with your wallet. That's different. These guys aren't leading with
my wallet. I was in the military, nigga. I was broke. What the fuck?
You said German. You just said prostitutes.
No. You need to listen. I was in Germany where prostitution was legal. So the women within the environment who knew men could get their needs met without playing this silly ass fucking game. Like that's why the actual German men didn't have respect for women like that. Because German men could actually go get their nut off for 40 fucking marks. Well, back then when they used to have the Deutschmark and shit. So it's like men could actually get their needs met, and women actually had to bring some shit to the table to keep men on the fucking marketplace. Like in this marketplace here, you got a bunch of bitch ass niggas, most likely the dudes who you're paying attention to, who is providing you this simulacrum that you're actually looking at, that you think is reality. When the only thing that you're doing is feeding yourself into a marketplace where they actually run shit.
Nah, it is reality. Because I know you. I'm a young brother, so I see like I'm in my 20s, so I see basically how the dating pool is going, and you could basically tell the women aren't submissive.
No. Dude, listen, the women that you're around are not like that. The women in most other places that you go to, even in America, they don't get to act like they act in Miami. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, it's a different. This is why you travel to different areas in the United States, so that way you can find out where you're at. You don't surrender to the actual marketplace to where you're in. Like, if I could tell you this, I grew up in Mississippi, right? I had a different experience when I went to basic training in San Antonio. A way different experience when I went to police academy and tech school. A way different experience when I went on like a short little deployment to like Dallas. A way different experience when I went to like a short deployment to motherfucking Kansas. And then I got the overall experience when I went to like Germany and all these other places overseas and shit. So what I'm saying is every different marketplace that I went to, I dealt with different shit. So if you're being taught to like surrender to the actual worst type of marketplace that you're currently in, they're not actually helping you with shit. They're teaching you how to bow down to the bitch, bow down to what she wants and stuff. Oh, he left. So, all right, man, we offer that shit because you know normally when you're talking to bitch ass niggas, man, they don't like that shit. They want to bow down to the bitch, and if you ain't on that shit, man, they gotta go because their whole fucking life experience is bowing down to the bitch. So it's like, if you ain't got bow down to the bitch fucking experience, I gotta leave. What's going on, man? What's going on, Steve?
No, I agree with you. I hate, it bothers me to see that it's like that. But I'm not gonna lie though, when I was younger, I think I cared a lot more about what the women think and stuff. I'm not really into that anymore because I didn't really see the incentive of really getting involved and spending money and doing all that stuff. But I know for the young guys, it's hard because they don't have the experience yet, and so they're overwhelmed with this overwhelming lust sometimes. And I've been there, but the thing is, no one was trying to help me. Like, I don't get it. Like what you're saying, if I'm in my 20s and some guy is telling me something, like I'm gonna listen. I didn't have direction, so I would have loved to have a guy like you. Like, trust me, I'd listen, but no, there was no one there to tell me anything. I had to kind of learn the hard way. But trust me, man, if I had the advice, I'd be all ears. But I didn't have nothing. But it's difficult now. That basically sort of, I guess you've demonstrated what you were talking about earlier. It's hard to help people because they don't really try. Don't get me wrong. There's people like me that are desperate to sort of listen in. But I see what you're running into now. But
yeah, and it's like, the motherfucker rage quit, man. This motherfucker spent his whole life trying to level up this fucking whole shit mountain, and I'm telling him that, nigga, your whole life is a fucking failure and a fraud. The dude don't want to hear that shit. He want to go back to Fresh and Fit and look at all this simulacrum shit on the fucking screen and think that this shit is going to be a motherfucking easy road. I'm like, dude, they're only feeding you into your baseline compromise, giving them better options, bro. It's like, dude, listen, nobody in corporate America, nobody in business America trusts these type of motherfuckers around them, right? There ain't nobody I know who got any real money who's going to these motherfuckers trying to get their son fucked up out here. That ain't what they doing with this shit, man. What they're trying to do is get their sons and daughters off this fucking marketplace into cultured motherfuckers' hands. We don't, and those people have taken over the culture because there is an overwhelming amount of people who just want relationships. And you got other punk ass motherfuckers in this goddamn sphere in space who's feeding these motherfuckers into wolves. They're literally Daniel going into the fucking lion's cage without the faith of God. The motherfuckers gonna get ate the fuck up by them goddamn lions inside the goddamn cage. But they have bought so much into the hope and the desire of a specific outcome, they don't even realize that shit is a contrived show. They don't realize that shit. And like shows like that need to be labeled as fucking entertainment because younger dudes like that think like that's the reality. This dude is pretty much gave up on moving anywhere else, producing and getting the fuck out of that situation that he's in. He pretty much gonna give his best self to a fucking 40-year-old. That's what he gonna do. A fat bitch is gonna brush up against that motherfucker, and that dude is gonna be off to the fucking moon, giving his best self to a motherfucker that don't deserve him. That's what they're creating out here, man. Shit is entertainment, bro. It's not real life. It ain't. It is not. And this is what people don't get. It's like, and it's hard to talk to dudes like that because their whole life is based on trying to reach this mountaintop that nobody ever told them that there ain't shit up there. There's nothing up there. The dudes that they think is at the top of the dating market, dude, these dudes ain't even fucking with them women like that out here. They bring them on fucking the channel for you to see them talk to. They ain't messing with these women in their fucking actual personal life. They're not doing that shit, man. They're not doing that shit. They're not. Listen, man, once you got cultural results with women, there ain't no way in the hell you coming back into this marketplace and feeding yourself back into it for bullshit reasons. And this is why I say, look, if they can find a bunch of people who are not on their shit, then I can go out here and find motherfuckers who are and who want their actual kids to be successful out here. I just have to go out here and create a new marketplace and need a new fucking audience, man. That's what it is. Right. That's all I'm saying. The people who are here for the right reasons that they're here, watch. There'll be 300 or 400 motherfuckers in here, and just like a couple days ago, like it was 2 years ago, you be all these motherfuckers in here who are unblocked. They be in here saying yay and all this kind of stupid shit. Finicky motherfuckers, man. That's what it is. That's what it is, man. Like, they only hear where the fucking eyeballs are at, man. So you have to realize that this shit is a simulacrum of actual success. It isn't actual success and all that shit. Because here is a place where you can take productivity off the fucking table and replace it with other shit. Other shit, other shit that don't mean shit. And they don't realize these motherfuckers are older motherfucking men. Older men who are fucking feeding you into this system. Older men who are fucking actually doing this shit. Older men who are actually responsible for these women outcomes and conditions right now. So they try to mix you up into actually thinking that you need to be on the sexual chopping block for you to actually enjoy the spoils of war when you can just move on to some different shit. Let's say that you put yourself in the best shape of your fucking life. You come around and deal with this shit, you a damn fool. There ain't no older black man telling you that shit. None. None of them. None of them. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm giving the wrong shit to the wrong fucking people, man. Like, dude, like they're like kids who are like, talking to my nieces and nephews and shit. I never even met their fucking parents, but I'm like friends with them on Xbox Live, helping these motherfuckers get into school and doing all types of other shit with their fucking life. I'm not even there with them inside their house. This is the type of shit that need to be in front of those type of kids, man. Because you can easily get caught up in this understanding female nature, hustle, con shit, and you can be fucked up out here, man. You can be. It's not difficult to do. Because then again, I got nieces on the same shit. Young ass women getting no looks from none of these dudes out here because of the way the women acting in the previous generation. This is the actual starve-out system that black men should have been creating for black women out here. But the younger women are actually experiencing this shit at a far younger fucking age. Yeah, Dollar Washington shit. I get you, man. Fake it till you make it. Yeah, I get that shit. Yeah, but that's the problem and the principle here, man. I'm giving the wrong shit to the wrong people. It's like, look, this place was a good space. It could have been a place where people could have got their shit together. But most of these motherfuckers want to hang out, man. And I don't think that's a bad deal. I don't think that's a bad deal, man. I don't think, look, man, however you get the information is however you fucking get it. But a lot of people want to be stuck in that kind of holding phase shit of needing to hear the same shit over and over again. And I realized that I was part of the problem too. That I seen all the same motherfuckers who came from like other spaces and places over to my shit. only to reset the fucking conversation. Like they didn't have any intentions on moving on. They were just waiting for somebody else to restart the conversation and they would be back over in their shit, right? So it's very different from like an Ohim talking about moving on to different shit. Very different from a guy like me telling you to move on to different shit. It's very different now. Because I've been here for like 7 or 8 fucking years now. Before I started doing content like 3 or 4 years ago. And a lot of people see that I'm hating because I want the fucking space to move on and change to different shit. That ain't the fucking case. I see how motherfuckers are winning and how we ain't fucking winning. I'm talking about these dudes, not even black men. I'm talking about this men, period. I think that any man getting the most out of this fucking environment without being on this marketplace till they fucking damn near 60 years old is a win for all men, period. But now the place has been overstuffed and stocked with PUA 2.0 going on the white side of the space. And then you got kind of like black PUA 2.0 going on this side of the space here. You got young motherfuckers who's trying to pass off genetic credibility as success in an actual marketplace that they don't have legislative control over. And that's kind of the thing here. Like I said, I'm not trying to take any power from anybody. I'm just trying to help you get the most out of your own shit, man. And the best thing you could do is leave the shit the fuck alone and move on to better shit early. That's how I did it. How did I turn it around? I turned it around by moving on to better shit early. I didn't even know that was the right answer, by the way. I didn't know that was the right answer. But I wanted to create an entirely different fucking framework where none of these fucking people's opinion mattered. That's the type of framework that I wanted to create. And I got the answer to my question the moment I started creating my business, and I fucking moved on to better shit, man. Once I moved on to better shit, I knew that was the fucking answer. I couldn't be talked out of this shit. I moved on to better shit, better people, better everything else, man. They do, man. Brilliance, they do want to sit on the cool side of the table and be cool with the dudes who are fucking up the goddamn environment, man. So as it turns out, I'm more pro-black and pro-community and all this shit than most of these motherfuckers around here. Because I know what this shit looks like at the end of the fucking table, man. I know what it looks like. I know what it looks like. I know what a child growing up in this fucking circumstances, what the level of fucking success is. I know what it fucking looks like. And all you gotta do is hand them a fucking educated Keisha that's gonna lead them around and fuck up this entire shit, man. I want these dudes to witness a whole entire new fucking paradigm, man. But you can't do that shit with men who don't take a side. You can't do that shit with men who don't stay up and doing their minimum level of shit within the environment. It wasn't white people who was doing this shit. It was black men who was doing this shit. It was the entertainment industry that people want to connect themselves to. You can see it now that they want to do this shit. I turned it around by leaving it all alone, man. I didn't turn it around by trying to Keisha my way fucking through this shit until I found me one that I could fucking deal with. No, fuck that. I didn't want to deal with this shit, period. That's what it was, man. And like a lot of people don't understand how easy the answer is, but how hard the practicality is. It's hard the practicality of shit. Because they create so many emotionally compromised dudes to where they need the actual support of the group to actually move forward. And that's the actual problem here. Most of these people can't exist on their own or even by themselves as people because they've been so neglected. So that way, a wink or a nod or even the interest of a fucking nothing-ass fucking person could actually draw them off their fucking path. It just shows you how bad the environment is, man. It just shows you how it is, and you need to leave this shit the fuck alone. Period. And this is why I don't trust motherfuckers who trying to pull forward this fucking street image into the next fucking millennium. This shit don't work, man. I'm not that much older than you, by the way. I'm not that much older than you. But I've seen a hell of a lot more shit way earlier. I've seen a hell of a lot more loss way earlier without motherfuckers' help. And I was in a better system where I was around nothing but adults who didn't let you fuck up shit. Because if you would have fucked that shit up, they would have fucked you up. That's how it was. In the military, man, like they don't let you going out there doing all that stupid ass shit. You're either gonna get a fucking felony and end up in prison, or you're gonna end up getting your motherfucking ass whooped consistently by older motherfuckers. Thankfully, I grew up in a household and around people who didn't let me fuck up like that to where I need that type of correction. But that's the way it is, man. A lot of these dudes don't see anything for themselves but to be sexually accepted by the counterpart within this environment. It's fucked up. That's literally what it is, man. It's not even that difficult, man. Yeah. Dude, listen, man. Bro, listen, man. I went to like so many funerals to like motherfucking like probably like 6th grade to like the fucking 9th grade, man. I lost count, man. Same motherfuckers, same house, same food, another motherfucker missing. And then all of a sudden it's your father, your grandmother, your grandfather. Yeah, man, like, yeah. I had a lot of L's early. A lot of L's early, man.
But see, that was one of your videos that changed my life, man. You talking about redefining, trying to redefine your happiness after a loss. Because I had seen, my sister died at the age of 24, and my mom just passed away a couple of years ago. And then my grandma, she only lived to be 55. And so I've learned in my family, genetics typically tend to be on the weaker side. And the thing is, like, no one really ever talked about that. So, I kind of just sit and figure out, is this normal? How many people go through this? What do I do now? How do I process these thoughts? How do I move on life, understanding how short it is? And so, that's something I couldn't really get us, anybody's opinion. I tried to find out, but no one. It's one of those things where people are just quiet. So your video, when you talked about redefining life after loss, I thought like, wow. I mean, it's like it was just it just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, man, how could you find information like this? I thought it was one of the greatest videos ever. And it was like exactly what I needed at the time, because I have a younger brother, he's 34, and he's not doing very well because he's a really bad diabetic. And so, it's like chances are he probably, because his diabetes is so bad, he probably won't have a very long life. And so, I think a lot of people.
There's one or two.
What's that?
Is it diabetes 1 or diabetes 2?
Oh, he takes the insulin. I believe that's type 1.
Oh, goddamn, yeah. I mean, he could, but it's gonna take like a major change in everything for old boy. Like I had, there was a dude I went to high school with. He played football and he had diabetes. The dude was he was always a big ass motherfucking dude, but nobody knew he had like type 1 diabetes and shit. And once he got his shit under control, where he got a good ass fucking diet and actually decent people around him and shit, the dude turned his whole life around. This dude probably weighed like 130 something pounds. He never weighed that light. Even in fucking high school, this was like 200-pound dude, man. A big ass fucking Pac-Man nigga. And this motherfucker is now like a small dude, happy as fuck. He finally got it under fucking control, man. And yeah, man, that shit is not a death sentence like people think, man. It's just that it's the diabetes shit along with the other life and being lost and not being around people who give a fuck about you, that make you overall not really give a fuck about what you eat and what you do and all that kind of other shit. Like a lot of people like discount how much the actual surrounding shit affects you a hell of a lot more than your actual circumstances. Like your overall surrounding circumstances could be way worse than all this other shit, man. Way worse. And that's just the way it is, man. And a lot of people don't get that until once you meet people in hospice and all that kind of shit, when they talk about all the shit that they fucking could have did in their life and they didn't. Kids don't even fuck with them and other kind of shit. That's when you start to see it, where all the shit that they could have changed their entire life and shit, that they see it when they about to be out of here. Like, you never feel more dead. I'm sorry, you never feel more alive than about the time your ass is about to be out of here. And, you start going over all the shit that you ain't going to be able to do because your ass is on the table about to be out of here, and all the decisions that you could have made. So it's like, man, yeah, man, that type 1, man, it's pretty much easy. It's easy to go across, man, but it takes like a whole lifestyle change, period. And if you love the dude, like I know you probably do, you need to be able to just have that dude extricate himself from the circumstances and around those people. Because those people give you the comfort, but you're supposed to get the comfort from yourself and the shit that you provide yourself, not somebody's fucking opinion. And if they're used to like stringing your ass out, having you doing dumb shit around dumb shit all the time, so that way they can feel comfortable themselves, that dude would never feel what it's like to not have those problems at the actual expense that he does right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's unfortunately he's got a lot of mental issues. So he was sort of born with what do they call it? Developmental disabilities, and so that's why it's so hard to reach him with the eating type stuff. And so it's one of those things to where he sort of goes back and forth, up and down, but it seems like it's advancing more that he's because what he just turned 34. Now that he's around mid-30s, it's starting to intensify to where he can't get away with doing like he used to. So it's advancing more or less.
That's what I'm saying. It's a discipline level thing, man. He's kind of setting those fucking lifestyles to where he think he can do that shit and get away with it. Where right now, you got to be able to like, look, man, you're gonna be out of here. And I remember taking my brother through like a fucking cancer ward and shit, like after my mom had died and this motherfucker was still smoking and shit. I'm like, all right, man, you seen my mom go through all this shit. You seen her mom go through all this shit. All right, man, so let's just go through a motherfucking goddamn cancer ward, man. And like, motherfuckers dying of lung cancer, man. Took the motherfucker through the ward. Yeah. And I want to go talk to her, man. Talk to her about smoking fucking cigarettes and shit. Showed you old pictures of her, beauty fucking queen, laying up in the fucking hospital, dying of a fucking cigarette. Unbelievable, man. Shit is really, you can turn this shit around, man. Change his fucking life, man. Change his fucking life. Turn the shit around. Put that shit down. Left it alone. Yeah, because he didn't. He thought it was because of the circumstances that he was in that he had nothing else to live for until he realized that he fucking did. He's seen people in way worse circumstances. He's seen the future. He's seen the future of where the fuck he was going to be if he wouldn't have turned that shit around. Me, I had to live that shit. Every moment I had to live that fucking shit, man. I seen what the fuck would happen if you fucked up bad. You know what I'm saying? It's like, like that other side of Denver, like the fucking Quebec over there by the old Stapleton Airport. That shit is there for everybody to fucking see. If you ain't got your shit to fucking together, you end up the fuck out there. To drop your ass off out there. And what happens to you out there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, look, man, you can still turn this shit around, man. It's just that people don't want to do it. They don't want to do the shit. They don't want to see it. They'd rather hang out until the fucking lottery ticket shows up, man. And that ain't how life works, man. It ain't. Yeah, but it can be broken, man. But you got to be able to find like the peace and security by yourself, so that way this shit can work, right? Because for the most part, the shit's not in books, man. The shit's not in books. I could put this whole black experience on fucking wax, man, and it'll make a lot of motherfuckers mad as shit. But it needs to be done, man, because these actual things that people are actually freely walking into is shit that they don't even need to be walking into, man. Not shit that they don't need to be walking into. Like a lot of these people fuck their own shit up, man. For real.
But it's just that I think a lot of us, speaking for myself mostly though, there's not a lot of direction, and I think it's like people see the numbers and that's one of the things I don't understand about the whole red pill type stuff and like what we're talking about with these con artists, because they talk about red pills and it's like they're referring to the Matrix, but isn't that what the Matrix really is getting caught up in this hype over someone basically telling you what looks good instead of, you really trying to look out for yourself and do what you feel is right versus having to worry so much about other people, what other people think. And so, yeah, it's really confusing. It took me a while to really figure that out, but I think it's harder, like the younger man that called in, it's harder for the younger people because they have to kind of live it and then kind of go through it. And then when they fail, they'll probably look back, man, it's this guy named Man of Tomorrow. It turns out he was right. By the time he's, our age, he'll finally figure it out. It'd be a little late. But gosh, man, I just think it's one of those things where a lot of us just don't, we only find out the hard way. And like one guy said, people are just now starting to really understand just a little bit of life by the time they get, almost 40. And so, man, I had left a comment on one of your videos. I said, man of Tomorrow, it's like he's lived for 1,000 years because the stuff, man, is just unbelievable. And just to give you an example of my background, I've lived in the same place, haven't really traveled, haven't really been outside of this box. And a lot of times I can keep you ignorant when you're in the same spot and you do the same thing for so long. It's hard to sort of look around and understand the world for what it really is, because all you see is sort of like this little tiny corner. And so, yeah, man, and I know I'm not the only person that lives like that. There's probably a lot of people like, sort of like that haven't been in the military, haven't traveled, haven't done these things. So it's nice to listen to someone with your perspective. But at the same time, I know a lot of people just, I guess they just don't want to listen. But shoot, man, I'm all ears. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I definitely want to listen and learn, because like I said, I haven't really experienced much, and I'm getting up there. But yeah.
Yeah, but you got to recognize that most of this shit that I was doing the right thing with, there was no celebration. There was no celebration of the path. There was no celebration. There was nobody telling me I was doing the right thing. There was nobody doing all that shit. Like, most of this shit I had to learn on my own. All of it, mostly on my fucking own. Trial and fucking error. Well, mostly trial. There was no really error. There was trial and no celebration. I guess that's a better way of putting it. And that's how it was, man. And it was like most of the shit, even now, just taking, a couple months off and just reflecting on the shit. And it's like, I just sit here 16, 18 hours a day thinking about the motherfuckers who are out of here. You know what I'm saying? Haven't thought about that shit in 20, 25 fucking years, how many motherfuckers who lost on this fucking path. And it's like, holy fucking shit, man. And it's like, I just wanted to see it through my way, man. And it turned out good. And it is some shit that you can do even now. Like, especially when I was in, like hardcore staying in Denver and shit, motherfuckers, I used to bring up from Mississippi up there, man. They used to come up there, realize all the jobs up there, and all of a sudden the motherfucker disappeared, man. You see them a couple years later, a couple kids, motherfuckers doing fine, man. The only thing you needed was opportunity. Real tangible opportunity, and motherfuckers who gave a fuck about it. You know what the situation is, man, down there. A lot of motherfuckers just want to, wait to fuck their life up. Got up there, got around decent fucking people. That's it. That's all you need to be around. Opportunity and decent fucking people. And you're not going to get that shit through this type of experience. But a lot of people are so young, they're like, man, look, I'll do anything to qualify for this shit in this environment. That's what it is, man. And it's like, they don't want you to experience a better life, man. Look at the older motherfuckers around here, man. Most of the older motherfuckers around here, it's crazy how many people are okay with this bullshit that's going on, man. Or even host the bullshit that's going on, man. That's what it is. But you can get the fuck up out of this shit yourself, man. But they want you to not actually feel the actual safety and security and comfort of self. They want you to actually do it through everybody else's opinion, man. That's just the worst way to fucking do it, through everybody else's opinion. The worst way to do it. Worst way to do it. I never seen nobody graduated from that system, man. From the everybody else's opinion type of perspective on the shit. Dude, ain't nobody fucking graduated from that shit. Nobody. Even the people who are teaching from that perspective, they haven't graduated from the shit either. You got to deal with different motherfuckers, man. You got to put yourself in a better space and deal with better people. A lot of people want to put themselves in a little bit of better space, and then they want to deal with the same fucking people because they feel like they're missing out, or they don't want to be left behind, or don't want to leave them behind. It's bullshit. Some shit you don't even need to be experiencing nor doing, man. And it's just that I'm just giving the wrong message to the wrong people, man. That's all it is, man. It's just that I just don't want to be a part of this type of shit no more, because I was talking to Nagone today, and he was like, why are you even talking to these people? Why do you even care about these people? I know you, man. There's just no way you give a fuck about these people. I'm like, man, man, you're right. Maybe I am talking to the wrong people about the right shit. A lot of these motherfuckers ain't ready, man. A lot of them ain't ready. And it's really hard to find a way to get good information, because the older generation have really poisoned the actual spirit and the space to where you can't even find realistic information on how to fucking do life shit correctly. The reason why you can't even do that shit is because they ain't got their shit together, and they're not going to let you succeed before them. So it's like now you got to do 2 generations of work in 1 generation. Then you got to find a level of being comfortable in that type of shit when you never experienced a level of comfort in your life. Look at how much work you got to fucking do in your generation because these other motherfuckers haven't did what the fuck they needed to do. So they're trying to hold on to their shit before they actually fucking die. And the only way they can die in peace is to mislead you all the way to the end. So that way they can die in peace. Some fucking bullshit, man. Crazy. It's nuts. No way this shit was going to get better. They didn't even have a particular type of perspective or even point of view or outlook or anything else that even signaled the point that they were done with this shit. No, they just out here resowing in the same problem to net another group of people into the same shit that they're fucking going through. Anything to keep their goddamn space. That's what it is. That's what the fuck it was. Now this place has turned into a clearinghouse for every motherfucker trying to fucking hang out. Ain't no motherfucker trying to get the fuck out of this shit. Everybody's trying to do it with Keisha. Unreal. You got to have different experiences to have a different fucking outcome. There ain't nobody who did it with Keisha. Not yet. Not ever. This is why I say, from my point of view, you should be leaving this shit alone. You should be getting yourself productive so that way you can have your own shit. I'd rather be a dude in Indiana in a small ass fucking town that be able to produce my own shit than a motherfucker in a big ass city with all these fucking kids that I don't give a fuck about and a fucking wife that don't give a fuck about me. Period. You have to have that type of mind state. That's what it is. That's what it is. Dude, you're not at the end of the fucking rope with shit, man. When I was in school, I seen a motherfucker 70-something, 80-something fucking years old trying to get better skills. This motherfucker is 90-something fucking years old still working at IT. That motherfucker didn't give up. Not at all. Still out there, still trying to make it happen. The only way you can fix this shit is by leaving it the fuck alone. If you're trying to do it with this motherfucker, then guess what? Yeah, man. Yeah, man, like that motherfucker cognitive dissonance was too good for a motherfucker, man. I asked some simple questions about what the fuck he was listening to, man. He couldn't answer them. Couldn't answer them. Couldn't deal with it. And you know what happens when you waste the majority of your time believing in a new fucking concept? You may end up defending the concept more than the people who's putting on the show is. So it's his job to defend the concept because it's popular rather than whether the concept and whether it's practical. I get that it's entertainment. I get that shit. But a lot of these people are looking for real fucking answers through entertainment, and that's how come that shit don't fucking work. It don't work that way, man. Why you think they out there putting on the show rather than fucking showing off their fucking wives and motherfucking kids who are well adjusted to the situation because they ain't experiencing the shit, man. That's the issue. Dude, I look back, man. I'm looking through this shit, man. I have like 800 and something fucking live streams talking about the exact same shit over. And I was embarrassed about the shit, man. I looked through this shit, talked to Lawrence guy, man. Like, look at all this fucking time I wasted, man. Look at all this fucking time I wasted. These motherfuckers are no closer. No fucking closer. But sometimes, man, you have to realize that that's the case. They want to just hang out, man. They want to hang out. And somebody else is going to do the hard lifting for them, man. And they're just going to bring them along for the ride at the end of the goddamn story. That's what it is.
But you brought up a lot of good points. Like, you weren't just talking about, well, you know, of course, I'm a newer listener, but you weren't just talking about the whole women thing. You know, I've seen you recently. You've talked about the police. You've talked about, like I said earlier, the redefining life after a loss. So I've seen like a huge amount of variety recently. But right now you're mostly referring to the women stuff.
Yeah. I mean, because people think that they're going to solve the women problem first, and then like the woman problem once solved is going to lead to the rest of their life, and that's not how that shit works, man. You got to have the women at the table. Like, we're wasting a lot of time trying to solve the problem with the women who don't want to give up power. I understand why they want to give up power. Like, if the women would have gave up the power, they would have gave it up in the fucking 70s or 80s, maybe even the fucking 90s. And now you can't tell women to give up power when they live the whole life of fucking access. You can't fucking have them do that shit. Right now, they ain't got shit to offer. So when you negotiate with somebody who ain't got shit to offer and you're still at the negotiating table, that doesn't give them more respect for you. They give them less respect for you as a person. Yeah, I get you, man. Shit. And man, there's a lot of people who never went back, man. A lot of people never went back. A lot of them. Yeah. So it's just that, like that's what it is, man. Like a lot of people want to solve it with this actual unsolvable person, and they think that once they get that together, then everything else is gonna work right. And that's not the way it works, man. It's not the way it works. You got to have a willing partner coming with you with the ride. Like most of the people I meet from like Venezuela or motherfucking Ecuador, when they come here, they're married to people that they don't even fucking like to have a fucking better life. Come here, have a highly productive family and all that kind of shit. That's the shit they agreed on. There's no agreement between both genders here. The only agreement is one person is going to be on the market forever and the other person is going to chase them forever. That shit don't work. And it's a level of fucking abuse. How do you explain 1 out of 10's having kids? Having the fucking selfish, like this fucking, yeah, it's crazy. Lizzo sliding into the DMs of like Chris Evans and shit, thinking that she qualified for a dude like that. Nuts. Crazy. But this is what we are, man. And like, dude, like there was always going to be a what next conversation. What next? The next thing you have to do is leave this shit the fuck alone, man. That's what's next. The what next is you got to find your own fucking way without this fucking experience coming along with you. Map your fucking DNA. Your ancestors had to leave their fucking experiences directly the way the fuck it was. They had to move on to a different and better shit too. And not even entertain the fucking idea that this shit could work any other way. That's how you gotta be. Now I get this fucking rep of being a hardliner and shit. I got a hardliner because I get fucking results. Radicals always get what the fuck they want. Why? Fundamentalists always get what the fuck they want. Why? They're willing to practice a single fucking level of resolve to get a specific fucking result. Yeah, man. So I don't know what I'm doing with this channel. Probably delete it. It's been flagged too many fucking times and all that kind of shit. It's easier to get a way bigger audience under different people. I don't want most of these motherfuckers who are even subscribed to me here, even to be part of this conversation anymore. Thanks to the other places that they put them in, which is fine. But I just don't want anything to do with this shit no more. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is, man. It's just that I thought I was going to get a little bit more return on investment with the actual outcomes and the results of people. But a lot of people just wanted to hang out, man. And that's just what it was, you know. A lot of people wanted to hang out, be around bitch ass niggas and that type of shit. So that's what it is, man.
So, I want to ask you this though, like a person like you that, like you mentioned, you said that you didn't have an example, but you were willing to go out there and go to the military, travel the world, and all this stuff. Like, if you could give us like the best advice, like what? Because myself and most of the people I knew and grew up around, they weren't brave enough to do that. So it's like what's your advice as far as getting people to be able to sort of conquer the fear of being able to actually explore something outside of their the box that they're in? Like, what's the best motivation to try to basically expand the horizon? Like, what would you suggest?
Oh man, like the SYSBM shit, man. Say yourself, man. Like, hey man, you gotta not find your definition through other people's happiness with you, man. You gotta find the happiness through yourself and not the satisfaction of people within this actual environment here. That's the first thing. I said a lot of people fall victim and prey to that type of thing, but now, as of right now, there's so many 3-4 week programs where you can get into coding or get to be a nurse and you can get to be productive. That's way different than it was 20 and 30 years ago, man. It's just that you got to break out of these areas, man, and move to higher ground in other places. You got to be able to have these actual experiences where you're treated like a human being, not based on how much of yourself you give away for frivolous ass reasons to people who don't deserve it. And this is an individual decision. Like a lot of people have been socialized into not really moving forward unless the group moved with them, when there was actually the quite opposite, that the individual movement was going to be better than the actual group benefit. It was actually the opposite that was true, but it was a mental mind game that meant to actually keep you sold into caring about people who never cared about you at the end of the day. So. Yeah, I just don't know how it would have happened any other way than me. Overall, just fucking cold turkey leaving the fucking area, man. Everything I was new to. Everything I was the youngest motherfucker there with everything. Youngest motherfucking basic training, youngest person in tech school, youngest person graduating, youngest person going to the first base, the youngest person deploying, youngest person. That's how it was, man. All the time. Brand new motherfucker, 18, 17, 18 years old, in there with 30 and 40-year-old motherfuckers who really fell out of all kinds of shit. That's what it was. I'm just glad that I experienced it so much early, man. Way more shit. Actually, I didn't want to take any of it away. I actually probably wanted to experience a hell of a lot more, but I think I got enough early, man. I think I got enough early to where I had like a good appreciation of shit, you know, when it was mine, you know, growing up in a house with a ton of motherfuckers in these rooms. Like, dude, if you went back to like the original house we fucking came out of, man, that was a small ass house to have all those people in it, man. When you go back and you actually look at it, unbelievable, man. All of us was living in that fucking house, man. Unfucking believable. But made it out of this shit, man. Made it out of this shit. So that's how it is, man. I'm glad it took me a while to actually go back. Grandfather told me never go back unless you have the ability to leave the same way you fucking left. Because like a lot of people went back there, didn't know that that was one of the worst places you can go back to, you know. Yeah. So you seen people like end up in gang violence and shit who was never about that life, period. But it became their fucking life because they didn't have shit else to fucking do. Unfucking believable. But that's what it is, man. They wanted to come out here to hang out, man. They wanted to hang out here specifically to fuck up this shit. Dude, there was a point in doing this shit. The point was that they want to destroy the fucking youth. And the only way they can do it is to snuff out all the voices of motherfuckers who want to actually want shit better than other people, man. So you can't really do anything with that. So there's nothing really much you could do after that, man. Nothing much, man. I just cannot believe the amount of time that I fucking did not do the thing I was supposed to do with the people who I actually need to do with it. So that's what it is, man. So you got anything else before we get up out of here, man?
No, that was it, man. I appreciate it. So yeah, man, if you delete this channel, I'm sure you're keeping in touch with Oheen, man. Just be sure to drop us a link. I seen a few other people on the channel. It seemed like they followed him over to you. So man, I just wish I would have found it earlier because I'll be looking up old videos. You delete the channel, I won't be able to find anything.
Nah, I don't know, man. It's just wait a minute. Really gained 1,000 people in 5 days? Is that right? Hold on a second. Oh, the last time I looked at this shit, this was like 23, 24 too, huh? Yeah. I don't know, man. So that's what it is, man. It's just at the end of the fucking day, man. Like I really need to do this shit a different type of way, because these people need a different type of fucking help. And hanging around at the fucking bottom of this shit ain't working, man. Ain't working. Don't know even how the fuck I even get to 24,000 subscribers, man. Because the shit I used to do like way back in the past was way hard hitting fucking videos and shit. Like there ain't no way I could put those type of videos up now, man. So no way. So all right, man. Well, thanks for coming through, man. And thank you everybody for coming through. Y'all have a nice night.
All right, you too. Peace.